welcome to another episode of The Minority Voice. I'm your host, Jeff Vega, and I have a special guest here. But before I introduce him, I just want to let you know the CPAC this weekend was awesome. A bunch of great speeches. And on Wednesday's podcast, I'll just share some of my thoughts. But today, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Talal Badra.
Yes.
And I met him, when did we meet?
We met in the fall, I believe, last fall in 2020, or was it summer?
Was it a fundraiser?
Fundraiser, yes.
Yeah.
We were at Marilyn Fine's house.
Yes, yep.
That's right. You cornered the buffet, and you were taking over quite a section of it.
Yeah, that's his specialty.
Yeah.
I'm exposed. Hey, I tell you folks, man, when it comes to food, hey, I'm there. I'm not shy. I remember my mom telling me when I was young, don't miss out. And you know what? If you're in the front of the line, you don't miss out. And you get to go back for seconds.
How can they contact you about events?
What's that?
How can they contact you about events? You come get food.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yes, please contact me. Any events, I love to eat. But anyways, Talal, it's great to have you here. And for those don't know, he is, one of his titles is he is the co-chair of the Ingham County Republican Party.
Yes.
So that being said, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, yeah, I have Yvonne Whitbeck, the other co-chair, to thank for that. I met her last year, and we hit it off. I have some ideas, being a business person, how I want to bring a business approach to the party for more outreach. And she liked the idea, and we became great friends. And so now we're doing it together because she has a lot of expertise that I wouldn't know what I'm doing without her. So she's an expert at being the chairman of the party.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about Ingham County. Lansing's in there. What's kind of like the makeup of it?
The makeup is a heavily Democrat area.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, right. And so it's rather difficult for Republicans to have any representation in Ingham County. And so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to magnify the Republican voice in Ingham County and make sure that we get our 8th congressional seat back.
That is important. Also, too, you also have a lot of colleges in there, from what I understand.
We do. We have Michigan State University, of course, Lansing Community College, and Western Michigan's law school, Cooley Law School there.
You have some community colleges, too?
Yeah, and then there's, Davenport, and, Northwood has a campus there. Then there's all these smaller satellite campuses there. And I think there's a Great Lakes Christian College as well.
So that could be a little
players.
Outpost for conservatives or Republicans, right?
I would hope so, yes.
Yeah, so also the fact that you are a minority and you are...
How so?
Well, you're Republican, so you're that kind of minority too. But you are Jordanian, right?
Well, my father's from Jordan, yes.
Okay, so tell me, that's...
My father immigrated from Jordan back in 1965. One of the classic stories, right, where he had just a few dollars on him, and he came to the U.S. to go to college, and he had to work as a busboy, you name it, everything, to do whatever it takes to become, a college student and graduate, no student loans to be forgiven. And
isn't that something?
The most interesting thing, and this is where things came together for me, was all my life I always heard my father tell me or tell anyone when he graduated or when he got to America back in 1965, he'd always tell people, yeah, it was when America was America. He'd always say, every time without fail, he said that his whole life, it was when America was America. Lo and behold, here we are in 2015, and this other guy, same age as my father, comes down from the escalator and says, "We want to make America great again." And it was just like, boom, it hit really hard, like, hey, this guy's speaking my father's language, which...
I tell you, and that's one thing about minorities and immigrants who come in from other countries. They appreciate and they have a yearning and a love for what America represents, and because where they're at, it's not a good situation, and so and I can appreciate that. And too bad our college kids, because it seems like they go to these indoctrination schools and they lose their minds. But that being said, so you're Jordanian now. I guess the Arab community is a lot like the Hispanics, the Latino community. There's multiple factions in their countries. What are some of those that are in your area? Well, in the Metro Detroit too.
Yeah. So in Ingham County, most of the Arabs that are in Ingham County now are more recent, like from Iraq, or there's a few Afghanis here, but they're not necessarily Arab, but they're Muslim, which is kind of associated. But historically in Ingham County, it's from Lebanese and Syrian descent, because they came long ago from the early 1900s to the mid 1900s. And that's the biggest makeup in Ingham County. So it is pretty diverse. Those Lebanese and Syrians that came back in the mid 1900s, those people would be more Republican leaning, but the new arrivals are more Democrat leaning.
I like what you said to me earlier, and if you could repeat it, about when I asked you how do they lean right or left or Democrat, Republican, and I liked your analogy. You want to just share that?
Sure. Yeah. Most of the time, what happens is they sit there, they hear something about bombing over in the Middle East, and they say, well, who's that? Who's president? Who's bombing right now? And if it's a Democrat president doing the bombing, then they want to be be Republican on the Republican side. And if it's a Republican in office bombing, then they run to the Democrat side. Or if there's sanctions being put, that's how we lost Spencer Abraham, our senator. He was a Lebanese senator. We had an Arab senator in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, though I think he kind of went to Washington and forgot to come back.
Well,
I just got into politics and I actually, and he, you didn't hear from him. But anyways, I like that analogy about the bombing, because it's a situation where you're affecting people's families. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, you got people over there, and your village gets bombed. It's like, okay, did I lose an aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever? And so that is impactful. Also, you mentioned about the Democrats have been very good at cultivating the different groups when they come over.
Yeah. Well, just to finish up with Spence Abraham, it's kind of similar to the bombing. Spence Abraham voted to put sanctions on Saddam Hussein, who is a war criminal. But the Arabs, they spread this message that, well, he's starving out the people of Iraq. He voted for sanctions on Iraq. So the entire Dearborn population, entire Arab population of Michigan voted against him, and didn't even know who they were voting for, and that's how he lost the seat, was purely on the Arab vote of this guy put sanctions on an Arab country, betrayed us Arabs, and actually he was doing them a favor by standing against Saddam Hussein. So it's kind of an interesting culture. And now, what was your question though?
About how the Democrats, they immediately come in and they network and they manipulate and get these minority votes.
Yeah, exactly, because they like to portray that, well, the Republican Party is a club for good old white boys or whatever club, and nothing could be further from the truth. That's
If it was, well, how are we in it?
yeah,
Right?
right, exactly. And that's the interesting thing is that, we don't view, I don't even notice, I don't know about you, but I don't even notice a person has different skin pigmentation from me. I have no clue if somebody has a different skin color than I do. The only thing I notice about a person is, are they proactive? Are they a hard worker? Do they take responsibility? Are they having fun? Are they smiling? Are they a great person? That way, I know that they're a great person to be with.
And I would tell you, when you mentioned about work, I think our cultures are similar, because in the Hispanic community, say what you will, one thing everyone agrees upon: we're hard workers.
Oh yeah,
we work. And I know in the Muslim community, Arab community, they work.
well, it depends which Arab country.
Well,
some Arab countries have that's actually an interesting point, because like there are Arab countries over there that have a culture of bringing other people from other countries to do the work
Saudi
for
Arabia,
them,
but
right? And the Gulf states.
Because of the oil, right?
Yeah, but you have Iraqis.
I'm talking about the ones that come here.
The Jordanians, Egyptians are very hard workers, and so are Lebanese and Syrian. Yes, those are very hard workers.
And the thing is, we don't have a 9-to-5 mentality. Mm-hmm. No, it's like, hey, especially if you're a part of your family's business. It's like you're there before it opens up, and you better be there after it closes too. I mean, it's just expectations, and that's one of the similarities that we have. So, as the co-chair, and I know COVID is playing a role right now, but what's some of your vision as far as outreach in that fundraisers?
Well, I have a vision that I unveiled the tip of the iceberg, if you will, to the e-board of Ingham County, and they all liked it. And it's basically, I'm bringing a business approach to running the party, and instead of it being run as traditional, which is total traditional government or politics has a certain way, but as we saw with President Trump, that a business person has a much more effective way of getting things done. And with my background in management and sales and business ownership and marketing, I think that there's going to be some big changes in Ingham County. The spirit is going to go much higher. The enthusiasm, the motivation, the discipline, everything is going to skyrocket in Ingham County, and we're going to get that 8th congressional district seat back.
Well, it's good. I had shared this before, that Ingham County, if you just turn 2 points, you could flip it. Just 2 points. And also, I hear that you can cook. Also, I don't hear. I know you can cook. I've been to a few of your get-togethers, and now, David, I'd mentioned to Dave about, hey, I'm going to be doing a podcast with me cooking, because I love to eat, and of course, in order to eat, you got to be able to cook. Well, you don't have to, but I do, and I'm going to have a podcast where I'm going to be cooking, and I'd like to invite you back, and maybe we can do a joint venture on a meal.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
And bring our lovely significant other ones, and share it with them too.
Is David going to be there?
Well, he'll have to be here because he's going to film it.
Okay.
And eat the rest of the food.
Okay, yeah, but
Food for 5.
But it's good to have you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you back, and good luck as the co-chair. And I know you're going to do some great things. And until we meet again, friends, remember Joshua 24:15.